Welcome to MMAPlay365. I'm Newsome and I'm here to give you a Base AI recap from last weekend's event at UFC 293 from our UFC prediction software, of course, Base AI. So if you are interested in AI and in AI within MMA and UFC, then this is the perfect place for you. Now, in regards to UFC 293, the straight pick prediction accuracy across the board was 75%, so that's just your win-loss. So Base AI correctly predicted 9 out of 12 fights, which 75% is a really good number. We normally aim for high 60s, so anything over than that is absolutely perfect from the algorithm perspective. And the first fight we're going to talk about is the one that shocked me and will shock everybody, because one of the fights that Base AI correctly predicted was the main event, the middleweight championship fight between Sean Strickland versus Israel Adesanya. Base AI did predict Sean Strickland to win, which when I saw initially the numbers, the percentages drop on the MMAPlay365 website, I was very shocked to the point of I thought something must have been wrong. But of course, checking with the AI team, the algorithms, everything was on point. So Base AI genuinely liked Sean Strickland, and Base AI had Strickland to win at 53%. So it wasn't like Base AI saying that Strickland's got a 60-70% chance of winning. But what it was saying is actually two things. First of all, the AI liked Sean Strickland to win the fight, and everything added together within the algorithms was pointing to a Sean Strickland win. And secondly, is even if you didn't want to take that chance on Sean Strickland because you were so sold on Israel Adesanya, the second thing that it was saying is stay away from Israel Adesanya as a minus 600, minus 700 favourite, or whatever it was that he closed at. So those are two different things that you could have looked at. You could have thought, oh, yeah, I like Strickland. If the AI likes Strickland, I like Strickland and bet him. Or if you really did or really were sold on Israel Adesanya, maybe the prediction, you used this prediction in the main event to just stay away from Israel Adesanya. Now at 53%, the odds implied is minus 113. So Base AI was saying that Strickland should have been a minus 113 between a pick'em and a very, very slight favourite. And that's crazy when you consider that Sean Strickland was a plus 500 underdog at close. So Base AI was saying that there should have been a minus next to Sean Strickland's odds, but instead you're getting a 5-1 ticket. If that's not value, I just do not know what is. And the answer to that is value. That is insane value. Now you move on to the method of victory, because does Strickland knock him out? Does he submit Adesanya? Does he use his wrestling? Well, Base AI actually had the biggest percentage of the method of victory within Strickland to win by decision. And again, of course, Strickland won by decision. He won on the scorecards. Base AI said for Strickland to win by decision, that should be 24%. Now, at 24%, the odds implied there is plus 317. So, it's a hefty implied probability on the odds. But you go to the bookies with that implied probability of plus 317, and you're getting plus 1400. You're getting a 14-1 ticket for Sean Strickland to win by decision. And to be honest with you, although there's value there with that, it's actually a legit line of thinking, even from a human being, and thinking, well, is Strickland going to knock Adesanya out? Is he going to submit him? Well, it's unlikely. If Strickland is going to win, it might be a close split decision or something. Of course, it wasn't a split decision, but, that's the line of thinking. So if you're getting a 14-1 ticket, I mean, there's serious value there to start with, but there's also logic from the human perspective as well. So all in all, Base AI absolutely smashed this. I didn't see many people picking or betting Sean Strickland. I'm not saying there isn't anybody out there, because I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are out there. But yeah, look, it was a solid prediction from Base AI. Getting Strickland to win is one thing, then predicting him to win by decision is another. So yeah, really, really on the money from Base AI. And next up, we've got a gem, and it's not only a gem, but it's an underdog gem. It's the favourite type of gem from Base AI. This fighter was also in the $1.99 Dog of the Week, Base AI Dog of the Week package, where you get my favourite underdog, you get the biggest percentage underdog from Base AI, and if both lose, you get your money back anyway. So this was given away as cheap as it possibly can be, but Gabriel Miranda versus Shane Young. So Miranda to win, 55%. So Bayes AI was saying that Miranda should be minus 122 at the bookies, a very, very slight favourite. Now, there was some fluctuation with this, granted. So Miranda was anywhere between minus 115 and plus 150. So he opened up around the plus 150 mark. He got bet down a little bit to around plus 120, plus 130. Then he was bet back up again to around the plus 150, and then he closed around a pick'em at minus 115. So there was some real fluctuation, but there was also two opportunities to get Miranda at that decent plus 150 line. So depending on where you'd got him, depends on how much value you get. Now, of course, if you got the worst line at minus 115, you're still getting some value because Bayes AI was saying that Miranda should have been minus 122. But if you get plus 150 or plus 140 or plus 130, then you've got some serious value there compared to where Bayes AI was saying that Miranda should have been lined on the betting lines at the bookies. But we're going to go one step further. We've got Miranda inside the distance. You add your knockout and your submission percentages together and you get Miranda inside the distance or Miranda to win by finish, however your bookie has that market labelled. And Miranda to win inside the distance was 54%. So there's only 1% difference between Miranda to finish Shane Young and Miranda just to win on the money line. So at 54%, the odds implied is minus 117. And the inside the distance line at the bookies, you're getting anywhere from plus 145 to plus 160. So there's not too much difference in regards to the value between inside the distance and the money line. There's not too much difference in regards to the implied odds probability, and also from where you could have actually bet the money line and the inside the distance. They were both very similar. Again, if you'd have got plus 150 on Miranda, by the time he closed at minus 115, then yeah, all the value's on inside the distance. But until that closed at minus 115, the value probably was still with the money line. But there's still value on Miranda to win inside the distance regardless. Now, Miranda to win by submission. So this was the highest percentage from the individual methods of victory. And this is, of course, how Miranda won the fight. So Miranda to win by sub, 49.42%. So there's a reason I'm going for the points, and anybody that listens to these weekly will know where I'm going with this. But at 49.42%, the odds implied is plus 102. You take that to the bookies, you're getting a plus 200 line. And again, serious value there. Sure, we're now into the plus money implied odds probability, but you're also getting a 2-to-1 ticket at the bookies. Now, we go that one step further, Miranda to win by submission in round one specifically, which, of course, he did. 48.87%. So now you can see why I've done the points. Miranda to win by sub is 49.42. Miranda to win by sub in round one, 48.87. There's hardly anything in it. The odds implied for the sub round one is plus 105. So it's only 3 cents difference than the sub outright. The difference is you're now getting a plus 450 betting line. So you're getting an insane number on the betting line. And to be honest with you, from an analysis perspective, a lot of people were saying Miranda submission round one or bust. So if Miranda is going to win, Bayes AI basically nailed what, a lot of the analysts, including myself, were sort of thinking as well in regards to, the submission in the first round. But yeah, look, whichever way you take this fight, there's value. There was a ton of value in the money line, the inside the distance, the submission method of victory, and the submission round one method of victory and rounds as well. So all this was on an underdog as well, which makes it even better, makes it even sweeter. A solid prediction and a solid job by Bayes AI. And next up, we've got a bit of a gem here as well. We've got Tyson Pedro versus Anton Turkalj. Now, Tyson Pedro to win, Bayes AI had at 51%. At 51%, the odds implied is minus 104. Now, again, Pedro opened at minus 155. He went all the way down to plus 110 with a line flip. Then it widened a little bit. He sort of closed anywhere from, minus 105 to minus 115. So really here, the value must have been taken whilst he was in the plus money because, plus 100, plus 105, plus 110, that's where you've got the value on the minus 104 odds implied probability from Bayes AI. I took Tyson Pedro at around plus 100, so I got some of that value for sure. And yeah, like I say, if it's outside of that plus number, then the value isn't there. You'd have to start looking. If you really wanted to bet the fight, you'd have to start looking a little bit further into it. So Tyson Pedro to win inside the distance. Again, add your knockout, TKO and submission percentages together, which, by the way, the KO, TKO and the submission percentages were very close. And that number gives you 49%. At 49%, it's only 2% different from Pedro to win outright. And the odds implied at 49% is plus 104. You go to the bookies, you're looking at around plus 150. So now you're starting to get some real value. If you missed the Pedro money line, inside the distance was another solid option. And of course, Pedro won inside the distance. Then we go one step further, we're looking at KO TKO. So Pedro to win by KO TKO, 26%. The odds implied at 26%, plus 285. You take that to the bookies, you're getting plus 440. Real value there as well. Of course, Tyson Pedro knocked Anton Turkalj out. We go one step further again. Pedro to win by KO TKO in round 1 specifically. 22% Bayes AI has that. So interestingly, there's only 4% difference between Pedro KO TKO and Pedro KO TKO in round 1. The difference on the implied odds probability is at 22%. The implied odds is plus 355. However, you take that to the bookies and there's suddenly an 8.5 to 1 ticket at plus 850. So you could get plus 850 on Pedro to win by knockout in round 1. So again, the money line on the money, you've got inside the distance on the money, KO TKO on the money, and then you've got KO TKO in round 1 specifically, all correct. The only one that might have not given you some value was the money line, but again, depends when and where you would have bet Pedro. All in all, solid prediction from Bayes AI. The next fight we're going to talk about, Justin Tafa versus Austen Lane. Not a lot of value in this one, but it did hit across the board. We've got Tafa to win. Bayes AI had at 57%. At 57%, the odds implied is minus 133. Tafa was anywhere from minus 185 to minus 200, open, close, fluctuation. So it didn't really move too much. And of course, there's no value in the money line. So if you wanted to look further into it, Tafa to win inside the distance, KO, TKO plus submission percentages added together, you get 51.64%. So again, I'm going into the decimal points. At 51.64%, the odds implied is minus 107. At the bookies, you'd be looking at minus 165. The bookies weren't daft. They knew that if Tafa was going to win, it was going to be, a finish, wasn't going to a decision. So again, there's no value there either. But you go a bit further, Tafa to win by KO TKO specifically, 51.40%. So you can see there's only a 0.24% difference between inside the distance and KO TKO. That's how unlikely it was that Tafa was going to submit Austen Lane. But at 51.40%, the odds implied, there's only a cent difference, minus 106. You go to the bookies, again, they weren't daft, it's minus 150. They knew that Tafa was going to win by knockout. And yeah, there's no value there either. We still go one step further though. Tafa to win by KO TKO in round 1 specifically, 44%. The odds implied on 44% is plus 127. So again, the bookies Bayes AI really liked Tafa to win by KO TKO, and I think the books did as well, because at the books it was anywhere from plus 105 to plus 150. You compare that to the plus 127 odds implied. If you did hit the plus 150, you'd have finally found some value in this fight. Even if you hit plus 140, plus 130, plus 135, you'd have still found some value. If you hit the lowest number at plus 105, then there's no value there. So, look, there's not too much value in this fight as a whole. Bayes AI did hit every single level, though, because, of course, Tafa did win by KO in round 1. But the value would have only been available at KO round 1 if you'd have got around the plus 150 line. But again, it's good reason to always have a look and dive a little bit further into the numbers rather than just looking at the straight win-loss. So if you do have a subscription to the MMAPlay365 website, just make sure you're smart in how you're looking for your fights and really dig deep, because you never know what value you might find at the bottom of the pile. And finally, just really quickly, two fights that deserve honourable mentions. Nearly got my words stuck there. So Base AI did a really good job with these two fights, and I'll explain why. The fights I'm talking about is Manel Kape versus Felipe dos Santos and Nasrat Haqparast versus Landon Quinones. I personally thought these were horrific fights for dos Santos and Landon Quinones. Of course, Kape and Haqparast were very large favourites as well. Kape to win, Base AI had at 50.0%, so Base AI was like flip a coin, and it's not too far off that. Technically, it's an incorrect prediction, but only by 0.05%. But at 50.05%, you're looking at around plus 100, around minus 105, depending on your bookie's margins. And like I said, Kape was a minus 500 favourite. Haqparast was also a minus 500 favourite, but Base AI had him to win only at 53.52%. The odds implied on that is minus 115. So what Base AI was saying is Kape should have been around minus 105. Haqparast should have been around minus 115. Both pick'ems, both coin flips. And the bookies had them as 5-1 favourites. But you actually watch the fights, and although they both definitely won the fights, there was nothing, there's nothing wrong with, a decision or anything like that. But both fights were razor close. They both arguably should have been much closer to the betting lines that Base AI thought that they should be at than what they actually were. So two real honourable mentions there. Both surprised me when I saw the percentages, but when the fights played out, I was like, yep, Base has got this one absolutely bang on in regards to how competitive the fights were. So yeah, two honourable mentions there. And that's all for this recap. We'll be back again, of course, for next week from Noche UFC. See how Base AI does there. Hopefully it's another solid week. More gems, more solid predictions, more cashed betting tickets. Until then, I'm Newsome. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you again next week.